Welcome everyone. One of the best supports to ever be released in Star Rail is being rerun right now. She's one of the biggest game-changing supports in the entire game ever since her release. So today, let's talk about Robin and what exactly makes her so good ever since she was first released and why she will likely continue to be that way in the future. Remember to sub and like if you enjoyed, it helps me out a lot. Thanks, I really appreciate it. Let's talk about what happened before Robin came out. Before Robin came out, we only had very limited options when it came to Harmony characters. The reason why these characters are so good is because the most common strategy people used was a very hypercarry oriented playstyle. Many characters back then focused on their own self-damage, as many Harmony characters would only give major buffs to a single unit. The typical hypercarry playstyle would have you invest all of your resources into one character so that they could deal the most damage out of the entire party. And with only 4 slots in your party and a limited number of teams, the only option most people would take would be hypercarry. People would value quality over quantity when it came to doing damage, and what I mean by this is people invest all of their damage into one character rather than having other characters or anyone else in the party take a part in that damage as well. However, people started shifting that mindset as more characters were released. They started leaning slightly more towards the quantity side of the damage and a little less about the quality. This became a lot more viable with units like Ranmei, Harmony MC, and Robin by enabling more than one character to do said damage. Teams such as Double DPS, Super Break, and Follow Up became so much more popular after these types of units were released, and with the Remembrance path being playable now, we can already see this pattern continue. This is a very big reason why units like Bronya, Tingyun, and even Sparkle see so much less playtime than before, because their buffs are only targeted mainly towards a single unit. Of course, it's not the only reason, but it does play a part in why people start leaning towards characters like Robin. So what exactly makes Robin so good, and why does it continue to be this way? Both her ult, skill, and talent provide massive team-wide buffs. This helps emphasize the shift towards having more than one DPS on a single team. Robin's skill and talent are both pretty simple as they increase everyone's damage by 50% and their crit damage by 20% respectively. Her ult is where things get a little complicated. When activated, Robin enters the concerto state and immediately advances every ally's action by 100% other than herself. During this state, all allies' attacks increase based on Robin's attack, and every time an ally does damage, Robin will deal an additional instance of damage based on her own attack once again. It additionally increases follow-up damage by 25%. The way I like to see it is whenever her ult is active, she allows every attack to deal an additional 10 or 20k damage depending on her build. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up every time an ally does damage to an enemy. This is also assuming it's a single target scenario, so if you're using a blast or AoE attack, Robin can do even more damage. The buffs are cool, but the main reason that Robin is so good is her team-wide action value, which is very useful for a lot of reasons. The most obvious reason is to get turns more often. More turns mean more damage, uptime, more skill points, energy, and faster cycle clears. Action value is very important because all 3 endgame modes depend on whether you clear the content within a certain number of cycles or action value. There is a big reason why speed breakpoints are so important on certain characters. The ability to act multiple times in a single cycle will drastically improve your results. And even though Robin gives the entire team action advance, building speed is still really important since that means you can enable her damage more often and give her more energy. The difference between using a follow-up team with and without Robin is night and day. Every single attack gets an extra 10k damage and gives Robin more energy. And again, 10k damage not a lot, but it adds up over time. And in a sense, follow-up teams enable Robin and not the other way around, which is why there's such a big joke of like why Robin is such a good DPS character, quote unquote. We've already seen how good she is in follow-up teams, but she's already proven herself to be very useful outside of them because of that action advance being so important. With the newly released Remembrance path, Robin will remain a highly sought after character since we know memo sprites also get affected by action advance during her ult. We can already see it happen with Aglaya right now since both her and her memo sprite get affected by Robin's ult. Outside of Remembrance and follow-up teams, she does face energy problems which can be a pain to deal with. However, her ult is already so good that it makes up for how expensive it is, and there are ways to counteract the energy issue as well. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to sub and like if you enjoyed. Have a good night and day wherever you're at, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace and take care. Have a good one.